Well, welcome everybody to our virtualjobshadow.com. Today, we're going to be learning a lot about this great career readiness resource for transition and pre-ed services. And today we have Ryan Deal. He is the lead account manager from Strive and Media. And we also have we're going to have Alyssa Klein, who many of you know, who's our transition and pre-ed coordinator from Voc Rehab Services. She's going to kick us off and talk a little bit about why we're all here today and why it's important to learn about this great tool. So Alyssa, I'll pass it to you.
Wonderful. Yes. Hi, everybody. Again, Alyssa Klein from Vocational Rehabilitation Services. I don't have too much to say other than that I am also glad that you're all here. We have invested in Virtual Job Shadow using our pre-ed funds. We've invested for our VRS staff and our community partners to have access. And we've heard such great response from those of you that have been using platform, that it is a wonderful way of providing pre-employment transition services to students. I will say from my side of things, working with Ryan over at Virtual Job Shadow has been great. They just provide great customer service too. So happy that he is here today. He is working with a lot of other states with their VR programs, providing supports, and they've been providing a lot of enhancements related to pre-ed. So just want to welcome all of you. If you have any questions for me, I'll put my email in the chat if you have any other questions for me. But other than that, I'll hand it over to Ryan. And again, thank you, Ryan, for delivering this training today.
Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you, Anne, and everyone else. It's definitely great to be here. And I am going to spend probably about the next 40 minutes or so walking you all through a nice overview of the platform. We're going to talk about some basics and also some best practices in the pre-EDS world. As Alyssa mentioned, I do work with a lot of other statewide agencies out in Georgia. We're doing a big project with them on their pre-EDS services. New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine. I work with all of those VR programs when it comes to pre-transition services and the students they serve. And we are, just going to have a little fun today. Let me go ahead. I'll stop my video so you guys can focus on my screen here. And I want to give you a quick heads up that while we are going to review a lot today, the system is very user-friendly. It's very easy to navigate, and we have a ton of great tools that you all can use at any time to just review what we cover today. So I really want to encourage everyone to just sit back, relax, and soak in this information. Once I am done, we will have plenty of time today for questions. So I want to start by talking just about the login process. And this is certainly one of the more important aspects of the program. We want to make sure that everyone is comfortable accessing this resource. And we get over that particular barrier. So I'm going to quickly walk you through what that looks like. It'll be the same for both you as well as your clients. When you come to virtualjobshadow.com, you will see this login page here. And well, actually, this is just the home page. It will have the login button in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. I'll click that blue button. This is kind of the first step of the login process. And you'll want to start out by searching the name of your license. And so let's see. If I start just typing in Minnesota, here we are. So we have a number of clients that pop up with that particular keyword. You all will want to be sure to choose your license under this name here. And it's going to be listed at the top of the page. Just make sure that this is indeed the license that is listed at the top of this login page. Otherwise, our system will not recognize your login credentials. If for whatever reason you accidentally choose the wrong license and this name is not listed here, just click Not Your School or Organization, and it will take you one step back to this kind of license search process. Now, that's pretty much the login process. Let me pull up my demo license, and we'll get into some of the fun stuff here. Okay, so when I log in as a staff user or an administrative user, this is the page that I'm going to see. And actually, while I am logged in as a staff member here, I still have the same access to all the tools my clients and my students will be interacting with. So the interface we're about to see, it's going to look almost identical from their point of view. There are just some small differences here. Now, I mentioned earlier, there are some great ways to review this information, and I want to go right into those resources that you all can tap into really at any time. Because while it's certainly a great opportunity to get in front of you all today, I want to make sure that you can really go in and master some of the information we cover. So I'm going to start out by pointing out this blue banner here at the top of the page. This is actually a link to our live customer workshops. So I'm going to click this green Learn More button, and this actually brings you to a workshop registry. We host workshops every day, Monday through Friday. Some will be training 101 workshops. Those tend to last around 40 or 45 minutes. That is where an account manager like myself will walk you through an overview, a lot like we're doing today. And then we also mix in little 20 to 30-minute deep dives on some of our more flagship tools like groups and reports, flex lessons, let's see, assessments. Those are some examples of some of those shorter workshops you can attend. So the live workshops are fantastic, but we have much more than that. I'm going to point out our Help Center in the upper right-hand corner of every page throughout the platform. You will see a blue question mark over a white circle. And that is going to bring you to our Help Center. This is really a library of how-to articles. Each article is going to break down the functionality behind the tools you're going to see here today. I'll just pull up a random article. You can search for articles here in the upper search box. I'll just grab a random article here from our popular articles list. So this one, for example, is how to assign a flex lesson. And this is just what these articles look like. We'll have written step-by-step instructions along with screen caps that just walk you through the steps of accessing this particular feature and using it. I will note that your clients and the students, they'll have access to a help center that covers everything that they have access to. Yours will look a little bit different. One thing that you have access to that they won't have access to is a big library of on-demand video workshops. So that's this bucket right here. I'm going to click that just to show you we have pre-recorded versions of all the workshops I mentioned just a second ago from that live registry. And as I scroll down on this page, you're actually going to start seeing quite a few different types of video offerings. And we have hours and hours of content here. Actually, we have a ton of content specializing around transition services, working with students with IEPs, and really just getting the most out of this particular platform when you're working with those sorts of populations. Our curriculum director, his name is Steve Dahl. He is featured in a lot of these videos, and he has decades of experience in the transition world. So he really leads the effort in talking about how this can best be implemented with the folks you all are working with there. The last thing I'll note here in the Help Center are quick start resources. And there you can get little curriculum guides. We have a quick reference guide, a kind of visual map of the entire platform. That's another section you may want to look into to get some good ideas of where to get started. So I'll go ahead and close out the Help Center here. And really for the remainder of the presentation today, we'll just kind of navigate through the toolbar at the top of the page. And these first 4 sections are all sections that your clients will have access to. So we're going to start there, this user-facing portion of the platform. We're going to open up the Careers drop-down menu and get right into Career Central. Now, Career Central is really the heart and soul of virtualjobshadow.com. This is where we host hundreds of career profiles, the vast majority of which will have our job shadowing videos. And that video content, which you'll see throughout the platform, is really what we're known for. We produce all of the videos here in-house. We're constantly traveling the country, meeting new professionals, filming new career profiles to bring a day in the life of these professionals to you all in the form of these career profiles. Now, there are all sorts of ways to navigate this video library. We can search for careers in the upper right-hand corner. We have a number of filters here to the left that you can use: a minimum education required filter, a career cluster filter, an industry filter, just to name a few. But I actually see one of my favorites right here on this main page, so I want to go ahead and jump in: the marine mammologist career profile. So we're going to break down the different parts of a career profile here for you. I'm just a big fan of this particular video because of all the cute animals. We are right now looking at the professional Brittany Blades. So she works here for the Oregon Coast Aquarium. I see all that information up here in the heading. And the job shadowing video is kind of starting to play in the background. These videos will be between 3 and 5 minutes long, and they're just going to walk us through a day in the life at this professional's workplace. They're going to talk a bit about what it takes to succeed in this career path. Each of these videos are closed captioned in both English and Spanish. You can turn those on there at the bottom of the thumbnail. And then we also have linked directly below these videos English and Spanish transcripts. These cover the dialogue within that video. I'm going to scroll down.
Did we lose Ryan, I think we lost your
Oh, I'm so
yeah.
sorry. Yeah, it looks like I got muted there.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was just me or okay.
Thank
Ryan,
you.
that was my mistake. I apologize.
No worries. Where did I cut off there? Was it
Oh
just
my
a second
goodness.
ago?
Yeah, just a few seconds ago.
Okay, perfect. Well, I was just pointing out these Q&A videos. They're going to be at the bottom of every career profiles landing page. They're on average about a minute long or so. That's where this professional will answer some questions about their work in an interview format. So the video content is great. It's super high quality. Again, we produce it here in-house, and that it's just very accessible for the wide variety of folks we'll be working with through this program. But it's certainly not all we host within these career profiles. I want to point out your attention. The left-hand side of the page here will have the career profile menu, where you can access things like a career description, a required education page. And I want to stop here for a second because it's always so important to communicate to our students what they need to do to get into these careers that they're really interested in, where they are now, and what they need to do to get there to this professional goal. So this article not only goes into the schooling and experience, maybe the credentialism process around this profession. We also highlight in every career profile important qualities. These are practical skills, soft skills that someone will really want to master if they want to succeed in this career path. And that ties into a lot of soft skills content we've added to the platform in just the last few months. The career profiles also host things like earnings information, which we source from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. We have an additional links page. This is actually going to highlight a variety of different websites related to this career path. Here we have a few organizations, associations. In some cases, you'll see workers' unions websites, also Career One Stop and ONET pages, other career profile style web-based resources. We have a college search tool. This actually highlights schools in a specific state with programs related to this career. We also have a jobs/internships tool. It's a nice one-click option to search for job and internship opportunities in your local area related to this field. The college search tool, as well as this job search tool, we'll look at these a bit more broadly later on in the presentation, but they are in the career profiles. And finally, the related careers page. This is going to highlight various other careers in our Career Central library that will have some similarities to the one we're looking at now. So if I'm really interested in the marine mammologist career profile, these would be some other ones I'll want to explore. And I like this page. It just helps facilitate that more organic career exploration process. Now, of course, when we are working with students with IEPs, it's super important that we are able to track and document the work they're doing throughout their career exploration journey. And we have some tools built into the platform here that I want to highlight to help us do that. And we're going to highlight those. They're actually here at the very top of the career profile. You may have noticed those have been there the entire time. That's where they will live regardless of what part of the career profile you're on. We have this heart icon, and I can kind of turn this on and off here. This is essentially a way for me to favorite a career profile. If I'm really interested in one, I'll simply click that heart icon. It will be added to a My Careers page, which actually lives right here. And I'll open that up real quick. The My Careers page will simply host any careers I have favorited throughout my search, and I can quickly access them here. And this is just a way to populate my list of career profiles I like. We also have this pop quiz option. Now, this is a fantastic little multiple choice quiz. It's only 5 questions long. It will kind of test us on the content within the job shadowing video. So this is going to help us kind of document that information retention on the student's behalf. They can go in and take this self-graded quiz. And then another career readiness artifact is the career journal right here. The career journal is something the student can use to rate their interest in this particular career from 1 to 10 here. There's a little scale at the top. And then they can write out a nice description of what they learned, even share their own pros and cons of what exactly they learned here in the profile, and the idea of going and entering this field. And depending on who you're working with, you may want to have them fill this out themselves. You may want to even dictate some responses to a few of these questions for them. Of course, that will all depend on the individual. And there's one more trick, if I can go back to Career Central, that I want to point out, because a big part of what we do here is representation. And we want to make sure that the students and the young people that you all are working with do feel like they can see themselves in these sorts of careers. And we like to demonstrate that no matter what sort of challenges you may be facing in life, there's always going to be a place for you in the workplace. This is a little trick that I'll show you all. If I use the keyword search disability there in the search term, and I certainly know probably most of the students we work with wouldn't necessarily want to maybe associate with that particular language. This is really just a keyword that I wanted to point out here, maybe a bit of an old school way to search some particular career profiles that we have identified. There are a number of individuals here working all sorts of professions that have a variety of different physical or developmental disabilities that are still making a hugely positive impact in their workplace. And like I said, representation, seeing yourself in these positions is super important for the students we are working with. This is a great way to maybe pull up some career profiles that highlight some professionals with similar challenges that the folks you all are working with may be facing. All right, so that's a good rundown of Career Central. Again, a big flagship resource on our platform. Next, I want to jump down here to the Life Skills Videos library. The Life Skills Videos library is relatively new. It's a little over a year old now. This is where we host over 350 different videos covering subjects like social and emotional skills, networking, financial literacy, health and fitness, really a wide variety of topics that anyone will want to master regardless of what career path they choose. And there are a ton of videos here. The best part about these is that they're very accessible. Each one is going to be between 1 and 2 minutes long, and they're just going to help us kick off a lot of these career readiness conversations. When I approach this particular tool personally, I really like to take advantage of the search box in the upper right-hand corner. Just depending on what topic I want to cover on a given day, maybe one-on-one with a student or maybe with a group of students. For example, if I want to talk about time management with someone, I'll just search that term, see what sort of videos we have here. Looks like we have 7 different videos that were brought up from that keyword search. And I think we have some more straightforward time management videos, but there are also a couple in here about working from home, some best practices while working from home, setting boundaries at work. I think this is a really good example of the real spectrum of topics that we cover in this library. And so again, I really encourage you all to familiarize yourself with some of this content, or just dive right in and see what sort of topics we cover. Next, we'll move on to our colleges drop-down menu. And real quick, I just want to highlight our search tool. And this is really the biggest part of the colleges drop-down menu. We have a basic version of the college search tool as we saw it there in the career profiles. This is our broader search tool, and it's really quite easy to use. We source data from all sorts of schools, everything from industry-specific trade schools to four-year universities. You can search for schools based on name or location, or we have the filters to the left. I'll put in a pretty broad search here based on a tuition filter, just to show you what it looks like to pull up some of these results. Each result will have some basic information about this school. When I click one result, we'll go into Alabama A&M here as an example. This is where we host a ton of data. We'll source data covering student demographics, fees and financial aid. We go into test score information. And we also have links at the top directly to the school's website. So we really have everything that student will need to pursue their post-secondary education searches. I will give a little honorable mention to something that's right around the corner. We are going to be publishing our scholarship and financial aid search tool here pretty soon, probably before the end of October. You will see that added to the college's drop-down menu. We also have a great job search tool. This is another little feature that you saw in the career profiles. This is our broader job search tool. Now we have a job search tool here and an internship search tool. I'm going to open the job search tool up. These both really work the exact same way. The results will just differ depending on what search tool you're using. And I can simply run a keyword search. The location will default to my home city and state. And let's see. I'll just run a basic search based on keyword retail. I'll run this search, and we have a number of results here. These are all fed in from Indeed.com. So we source this data directly from live job listings within Indeed.com. We have, looks like a pretty recent job opening here at Target, guest advocate. I'm going to go ahead and click that. And it's opened up a new tab in my browser. I can look through this live job opportunity, see what this employer is looking for, what the compensation may look like. Not only is this a great way to expose your students to the world of searching for jobs, but also it's going to help them understand what type of availability there is of certain types of careers within a given geographic area. So that's a breakdown of our job search tool. It's a relatively simple tool. I also want to point out this WBL board page here on the jobs drop-down menu. This is essentially just a digital jobs board that you all have control over. So if there is an opportunity you really want to get out there for your students and young people to see, you can post it here. You can post maybe an internship, like some of these examples. I think further down, yeah, there's a career expo, a career fair, essentially. I posted that here. You can post volunteer opportunities. I've had people post scholarship information here. Again, it's just a digital jobs board that you can create listings for your students to see. Next, we're going to move here into the tools drop-down menu. And we'll go right to our assessments tool. Now, our assessments tool will include a few different interest inventories. This is actually my favorite place to begin the career exploration journey because these surveys are going to help us discover a little bit about ourselves, and it'll introduce us to some careers that will be a good fit for us. I'm going to briefly break down each one for you, and I will note all of these are available in Spanish. You'll see here at the top of the page, there is just a little option to change this tool into Spanish. The first two surveys are Career Cluster Interest Survey and the CCIS Easy. These are pretty much identical. The Easy version is a bit shorter. It's going to save you some time. They are going to be matching our interests to our database of career clusters. And then we have the ONET Interest Profiler. That's an interest inventory that matches us up to the Hollins-Reisek Interest Index. And I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. And finally, the ONET Work Importance Locator. That's a survey that will help me identify my work values, what's most important to me in the workplace. Each of these surveys you can take multiple times, as you can see here. The system will automatically save your progress as you are going through these surveys, so you don't have to complete them in one sitting. They all include great introductions, instructions, sample questions to get you started. But I think where this tool really shines is from the results page. So I want to point out just one example of some survey results here. And I can access those right here off this main page, just like any of the students or clients you all are working with. Once they complete a survey, they will be able to access this blue results button. And we are going to open up actually my own interest profiler. So these are what my results look like for this survey. My score is to the right. Essentially, the higher the score, the higher the alignment between my results, or my interests rather, and these different results. And I could read a little bit about what each one of these means. These are the 6 Hollins-Reisek index types. My top result here was enterprising. Just like each and every one of our surveys, I can click that result and it is going to take me back to Career Central under a specific filter based on the result I chose. And this is what I meant earlier about connecting us with careers that match our survey results, match our interests. I chose the enterprising section of the Reisek index, which is represented by this interest filter here at the top of the page. And right now I'm looking at all sorts of careers across a variety of different industries that will be a good fit for me based on that survey. So that's pretty much a breakdown of why those surveys are such a great place to begin the career exploration journey. We're going to start linking some career profiles to the youth you all are working with to make sure that these sorts of careers align with their interests. I will note we are adding to the assessment section pretty soon here, also before the end of October, the ONET Ability Profiler. It's an aptitude test that will help us also link some careers to the youth based on their skill sets. So that will be coming pretty soon. All right, next in the tools drop-down menu, I want to point out our resume and cover letter builder. Now, these document builders are pretty straightforward. This is where we solely focus on the content within these documents. So there are no tools here where we're going to be messing around with the formatting. There is an option to download anything you build within this tool in a Word format in case you do want to kind of format that on your own, change the look of these documents. We also have a PDF download that formats these automatically. And to be honest, I've worked with a ton of people that are super happy with the pre-formatting option. Others, of course, if they're more like me, for example, want to have a little more control over what these look like once they're finished, and they'll go for the Word document download. Either way, let's jump into the resume builder. I'm just going to show you in general what it looks like to build out these sorts of documents, because the cover letter builder works the exact same way. We have different sections throughout this particular document, and each section has a quick tip. These are the question mark icons. We can just hover over, and it will give us a really good idea of what to fill out for each section. And what I really love about the resume builder in particular is we have a ton of stuff in here that anyone can start with. I know this can be a very intimidating process for someone who maybe feels like they don't have a ton of work experience. They can easily start with some sections here towards the bottom around maybe achievements or their interests and activities, skills that they want to add to a resume. There's never an age too early to start the resume process, and we have a lot of great starting points for those folks. I also want to point out a couple of other great examples where these help tips, I think, could go above and beyond setting your students up for success. So here in the cell phone section, not only do we say, put in your cell phone number, we remind them, make sure your voicemail is set up, make sure it's a professional sounding voicemail, and make sure your mailbox doesn't get full so you don't miss any calls from prospective employers. Also here in the email section, we provide a friendly reminder, make sure there is no questionable language within your email address that might turn off an employer. Those are just a few examples of, again, where we really try to set up your youth for success when it comes to these documents. I also want to highlight a brand new tool. So some of you who may have used this over the last year, this may be new to you all as well. At the top of these document builders, we have a sample section. Now, when I click that blue button, you will see a number of links, and we see some grade specific stuff and then some adult examples as well. Each one of these will be different examples of resumes, cover letter builders, job applications, and then thank you letters, something you would maybe send after an interview opportunity. And this is just another example of where I feel like we've done a great job to set your youth up for success. We have all sorts of stuff here to give them an idea of what they may want to build out within their resume or cover letter by providing them with these specific types of examples. And you can see even the 7th grade example of a resume. So we have tons of great stuff here in this particular resume, maybe not so much work experience, but different skills, different interests. Again, just to kind of alleviate any intimidation someone might have when approaching this particular process. All right, so that's our resume builder, and the cover letter builder, you'll see, will work the exact same way. I want to jump next to the post-secondary plan. And of course, with everyone we are working with, they will have that ongoing transition plan that we basically revisit year to year. Now, this is a document that can help us not necessarily replace the transition plan, but kind of readjust where that student sits on a regular basis. This is called our post-secondary plan tool. It's where they can go in and identify their long-term education plans. They can identify their top 3 school choices if post-secondary education is a pathway they want to pursue. And they can also identify their top 3 career choices here. And it's really as simple as that. It's a great artifact we can have the students update. You all can generate, pull out of the system on a regular basis. And then finally, we have this goal setting tool. This is also very straightforward, where your students can go in and create their own short-term and long-term goals. It's a great writing exercise that will help them build off those literacy skills. They'll go in and name each goal, give each one a description, and they can create as many goals as they'd like. All right, and that's actually a pretty comprehensive breakdown of what your youth, your students, your clients will have access to here through the platform. We are about to move into the admin drop-down menu. And there are just a few things I want to spend our time looking at today and this particular menu, because there are a couple of things here that are pretty straightforward that we'll essentially skim over today. I'm going to highlight the most important parts of this drop-down menu, and then we'll get to questions. Now, I'm going to start out with the Manage Users page here. The Manage Users page is actually pretty important. Obviously, everyone we are working with, we want to make sure they are set up in the system with an account. And that is where you all come in. We are depending on everyone to just make sure that everyone in their caseload does have an account. Essentially, all we need to create a student account or a youth account, their first and last name, a username, and a password. And it's really as simple as that. Now, here in the Manage Users page, you can set up those accounts one by one. We have this yellow Add Accounts button. And you can see the form here is what you'd fill out to create that one account. And that's a nice option if you want to just go ahead and take care of it yourself. You have maybe a few people to create accounts for. Now, if you have a large group of individuals you need to create accounts for, you do have the option of creating a bulk upload spreadsheet. This blue button here, the bulk upload button, will bring up this pop-up window where you can download a spreadsheet using that link there and fill it out based on the information we need. Again, mostly just name, username, password. The rest is pretty much optional. And then you actually email it to our customer service team. And within a single business day, we will plug that into our system. Everyone will have their brand new accounts, and you'll get a confirmation once that's done. And to go a little further, I actually had a version ready to share of this bulk upload spreadsheet. So this is what the spreadsheet looks like. You will see different columns here, each one representing a different metric that we need to create these accounts. Here we're getting into kind of the optional ones. And on the second tab of this spreadsheet, you will see a definitions option. And this will break down kind of the information behind these various metrics. It's a very straightforward process. We're certainly available if you have any questions about it, but that is essentially how we create accounts. Now, the only other thing I want to point out on this page is someone having trouble logging in. If you have a student, you know they have an account, they can't get into the system, I would encourage you to just go ahead and reset their password. And I'll show you how to do that. Here we have some search filters. And I'm going to just pull up one of my students' accounts. Her name is Patricia. Oh, wrong license. I apologize. You all just have one license you need to worry about. Luckily, I have a ton. Let's try that again. All right, so this is one of my students, Patricia Jones. We have her username here. That will always be the same. But if Patricia reaches out to me with some trouble logging in, I'm just going to go in and change her password here. I have that link. I'll put in a new password that she can use. And I would say 99 times out of 100, that should get her into the system and she should be good from there. So that's a breakdown of our Manage Users page here and probably how most of you all will be using it. So next, let's move into our Groups tool. Now, I think for you all in particular, the Groups tool is going to be very important because eventually you all will have hundreds and hundreds of different accounts on this platform. You already do have many hundreds of accounts set up. And when you're using the Reports tool, as well as the Flex Lessons tool, these are tools we're about to look at here in just a second. Using the Groups tool is going to kind of streamline those processes. The Groups tool is essentially a way for you to organize, I would say for this group, your caseload. So any students that you work with on a regular basis, I really would encourage you to jump in here and create a group. I'll just show you real quick what it looks like to organize a group. I have this one here that I actually created earlier today. If I go in and edit this group, essentially what you have is you have this long list. For you all, this list will populate with every single student under your license. And you just go in and identify who you work with. When you click their names, they will populate here in the selected users table. And it's as simple as that. You can update those groups at any time. You can remove them. You can edit them. And that's how you create a group. Here in just a second, I want to show you the groups tool in action. And that will actually bring us to the reports tool here. This is probably going to be one of the most important tools that you all use here on the platform. And I can't stress this enough. Absolutely everything students are doing here on Virtual Job Shadow, you can track and document that work here through the reports tool. We're going to run just one example report together today so you can see what it's like to run a report, but I really encourage everyone as soon as possible, please jump into the reports tool, get some practice with it, maybe run a few reports, see what sort of information you can find. Documenting and tracking the work students are doing here is essential to reporting towards their IEPs and their transition plans, gathering these different artifacts to prove that we are meeting their IEPs. Let's go ahead and run this report as an example. The reports tool here is really just a series of search filters. Once again, I'm going to choose a specific license. You all don't need to worry about that. Let's check out this report drop-down menu. The choose report drop-down menu will show me, actually tools we have seen so far today. All sorts of stuff like tracking assessments, pop quiz results, tracking even what videos they have watched. We can track those sorts of details. Here, we're going to use the user overview report as an example. Now, the rest of these filters are pretty self-explanatory. I'm just going to leave those alone for now. And let's run this report. All right, so I just ran a very basic user overview report, but right now it is pulling up every single student on this particular license. This is over 80 students. I do not work with every single one of these students. So I'm kind of entering the territory of information overload right now. Here, I'm actually going to take advantage of a group I built. So you'll see here the groups filter, and I'm going to turn on this career exploration class. It's a small group of 4 students that I built. These are 4 students I work with on a regular basis. Let's run this identical report using that group filter. All right, so we're just going to put in that filter, run the same report. And here it's narrowed it down to the 4 students that I have organized into this group. This is a much more manageable set of data. And these sorts of tables you can always download in a spreadsheet format. You have the export button there. You have an export column in a lot of these reports. This is the column. Oh, it's just this column to the far right-hand side of the report. You'll see little links, and these are actually PDF documents that you can download. Usually they'll include things like an assessment result, documentation of a pop quiz result, or a career journal. The user overview report actually has something called the My Plan document. This is really quite important. The My Plan document, if I open that, will include the post-secondary plan that a student completed, as well as their short-term and long-term goals. And as I scroll down, I will find a compilation of all the assessment results of this student. All the assessments they've ever taken will be compiled here in one place. And of course, I can download that right off the website here. I want to show one more important trick of the reports tool, and it's this waffle icon right here. That waffle icon will actually allow me to turn on additional metrics on these reports. This user overview report we ran, for example, I can literally turn on every single metric around tools, we have explored to get together today. I can see a nice overview of maybe what my students are exploring and what tools they could be using a little bit more. Now, again, I really encourage you all to jump into the reports tool as soon as possible, get some practice with that tool. If you ever have any trouble locating what you need, please let us know. We can point you in the right direction. All right, so I know I am nearing the end of my portion of the presentation, and in the interest of avoiding going too far into information overload, I'm just going to point out the final tool here, the Flex Lessons tool in the admin drop-down menu. And this is our more comprehensive tool. We have some fantastic Help Center articles around it. And actually, I think 3 or 4 different videos, on-demand videos covering this tool, some of which are just 5 minutes long. Others actually go into an hour-long deep dive of this tool. What I really want to show you all today is just where a few pieces of content live, essentially. Now, the Flex Lesson tool in general is our curriculum builder. So you can actually go in and design your own set of activities, build out these lessons. It'll give your students some direction of what exactly to do when they're here in the platform. But if you don't take anything away today from the Flex Lessons tool, besides this, I really want to highlight our VJS lessons. So there's a little filter here. I just want to point out these VJS lessons at the bottom of this filter at the top of the page. Our curriculum team has designed over 50 different lessons that you can send out to your students right away. They cover a variety of soft skills. I'll just scroll down a little bit here. We have things like critical thinking, communication, goal setting, handling constructive criticism. These are just a few examples of the kinds of comprehensive lessons we have built out. And let me preview this critical thinking lesson just to show you an example. I'll click this preview icon right there. And this is the student view, and I can see to the left. This lesson includes lots of stuff. We have reading exercises, videos, writing exercises. There are even group activities we built into this lesson. This is a good example of the kinds of things you can find in the Flex Lessons library. Now, I also want to point out at the very top of the page, we have a search bar. There are a couple of keyword terms I want to point out for you all. We have first, let's see if this works. I think it will. Okay, perfect. So we have identified a few Flex Lessons that we have built specifically for the types of students you all will be working with. The pre-ETS keyword will bring these up. This is actually a package of 5 separate pre-employment transition services specific Flex Lessons that you all can use. And again, each one combines fun videos, writing exercises, reading activities, things like that. I also want to point out another keyword search, transition. We have also recently built a package of Flex Lessons specific to students with IEPs. We have a 2-part lesson here, all about transition plans, and then a soft skills Flex Lesson about self-determination. Now, again, I don't want to go into information overload today. I really just wanted to give you all a bit of a teaser into some of the content here. I will note, while you can build these lessons from scratch, anything you see here that we've already built out for you is 100% customizable. You can copy these lessons and customize them. And then, of course, you can send them out to your students in the form of gradable assignments. Now, if that is ever a workshop that you all want to host later on in the year, we can take a solid 30 minutes at least to do a nice deep dive into this particular tool alone. But I want to go ahead and stop myself because we just have a little under 10 minutes for questions. And I want to give you enough time to be able to ask those questions. So I'm going to open up the floor to you all. And I think, as Anne mentioned earlier, we would request questions to be put into the chat box. And I saw some chats come in, or questions come in through the chat during my presentation. So I'm going to dive right in here and see what we can find. And Alyssa, please feel free to jump in if any questions in here came out that you may be able to help answer right away.
And Ryan, this is Ann. I think just to call out a couple of those too, I think Katie had asked earlier on about, do our students or participants have to subscribe to Virtual Job Shadow in order to use the Flex lessons and such? And I think you kind of tackled that by showing the manage user process, right, in that capacity.
Absolutely. So the students or the youth you're working with, they do not self-subscribe. You all will need to create their login credentials for them. And once that's done, they have unlimited access to the platform here. They can access it while they're working directly with you. We would love for them to access it on their own at home, maybe with their parents, tying parents into this conversation, letting them know that their student, their child has access to these sorts of resources is a fantastic way to really promote the use of this tool. Yeah, once their account is set up, everything is essentially downhill from there.
Great, thank you. And I know we've been getting a lot of questions about people interested in the tool and trying to figure out, how to get a subscription or how to get a login. And Alyssa, you've been plugging some details in about your email address and contacting you, and that you can provide some of those credentials. Is there anything more you want to say, Alyssa, on that?
No, I'll just again reiterate, just email me. This is Alyssa. I put my email in the chat. And so if you have questions like who can access, just email me. And I see that Katie asked the last question. Yeah, you have an account of Paid by Deed. So you have that access to add students. So that's how you serve. That's how everybody would serve students, is giving them an account. So you, under your account, are allowed to do that.
Yes. Great.
Okay, and Ryan, I think we have another question that Fatai is asking. Can this virtual shadow tool be used with adults with autism spectrum disorder that struggle with the ability to kind of determine a career?
Yeah, that's a good question. On the surface level, absolutely, yes. But I do want to defer to Alyssa because from what I understand, this resource is paid for from Pre-ETS funds, and we want to make sure that we are using this exclusively with students in transition, just to make sure that we are in compliance, let's say, with those funding requirements. Alyssa, is that something you can expand on?
That's why I'm asking people to email me directly, and I can explain, so yeah, the primary source of funding we're using to pay for this resource is our pre-employment transition services funds. And so that's the primary audience. We do allow for you to use it with adults as well, but please email me, and I can explain that further.
Okay, any other questions? I love that you've built out those pre-ETS sections, and it's pretty cool to see that, the transition section, as well as customizable curriculum. I mean, who could lose on that one? With some of I see some teachers on, so that's a really nice option and feature to have. So, and I know our pre-ETS staff as well try to do some, and providers do some customizable curriculum. So that's really nice to think about as a future webinar as well.
Yes, absolutely. We can host that anytime. And we've gotten really positive feedback from those transition lessons we built out from our partners. It was something I was really happy to see because I think there was a big need for that sort of content on our platform. But with Steve coming on board last year, he started with us, and him having the decades and decades of experience in the transition world, we really were able to fill that need. And we have a lot more where that came from, for sure.
Great. Any last questions? Okay. I think we've got it then. I just want to thank Ryan and Alyssa for bringing this training to us here today. We are so thrilled that this tool has been, I know, a great resource for us as we've taken this on. And the more people use it, I think the more user-friendly it gets with being able to find different ways to deliver pre-ETS and transition services. So thank you both for your time. I'm going to put just in the chat a survey if you want to provide us some feedback today. And we're always interested to hear from you about how it went and what more we could be doing to help support you in using these tools for pre-ETS and transition services. So thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
Ryan.
My pleasure. Have a great afternoon.